What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Powerful Fitness Podcast, episode number 21. And today I got on my chiropractor, one of my teammates over at Carpe Momentum Jiu-Jitsu, Wayland, Dr. Jared Wayland, that is. So let's go ahead and introduce you to the people. Let's just talk about, I guess first, like where you're from, you know, how old you are, if you want to, you know, talk about your 100 years on this earth and all that stuff.
I'm 110 today, actually. It's very exciting. So that's good. That's good news. So yeah, no, okay. So I'm originally from upstate New York, Niagara Falls, Buffalo area. So I lived there most of my life, and that's where I was raised. And right now I'm a chiropractor. I do work called upper cervical chiropractic. It's kind of especially within chiropractic. All kinds of general chiropractic as well, extremities, and work with athletes also. Different laser therapies and decompressions. There's a lot going on in the clinic. Do some functional medicine, looking at labs, optimizing people's health in that way. So I have a lot of fun with my profession for sure. I know you have a lot of questions. Is there anything more about my background you would love to hear?
Your wrestling background.
Oh, right on. All right. So how much story of that do you want?
As much, man. When do you start wrestling? When's the first time getting on the mats?
I want to know if you wanted that. So I started in 7th grade, and you probably know this, Willie. Most people start wrestling 5, 6, 7 years old. They're usually younger when they begin. So I was considered like a late start, but I really liked it a lot. But I was like the worst wrestler. My first year in 7th grade, I was 1 and about 21. So I won one match, and I lost 21.
I mean, you're probably going up against, like you said, kids that have been wrestling for years probably already.
Potentially. Some of them might have been new beginners too, because it was like JV wrestling. What's still different in Missouri than New York is when you're in 7th, 8th grade, you wrestle with the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders. Here in Missouri, you're 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and you have JV, or you have middle school wrestling. That's what it's called here. So, but that was terrible. I really legit was the worst. Like, that other teammates also didn't wrestle, and they would have matches. I would just lose. It was crazy because I was a pretty good athlete, I thought, up to that point. Played football, played other sports, did good. And so it was really, in some ways, like devastating to your psyche when you're a 7th grader and getting whipped all the time. And the older kids are giving you swirlies and giving you wedgies and all that stuff. But like my older brother was a wrestler, and he was pretty solid, and he'd always encourage me. And the coach was awesome, great role model in my life. And I remember coach in the offseason said, hey, you need to weight train, man. It's like going to be a big difference for you. So I started getting serious about wrestling, trained in the offseason that year, started lifting weights, came back in my 8th grade year. And I don't remember the exact record, but I was a winning record. I think on JV, I was almost undefeated. I started wrestling varsity. I was probably about 8-4 in varsity. There was a match, and I won't go over all the details, but we were wrestling one of our city rivals. And I was going to wrestle a senior when I was an 8th grader. It was 138. And it ends up being that in wrestling, they'll start different weight class throughout the year. And then mine was the last weight class. So I'm going to wrestle a senior is like the
heaviest weight class.
Well, and I was 138 at that time. And so it started at 145, and then it worked all the way through. And so the last match against our rival was my match. And we were down by, I think it was like 2 points. And so if I would lose the match, we'd lose.
It's all on you.
We all lose. And if I would win it, we would win the match, essentially. If I was to win by points, 3 points is if you win by points and for the team scores. Anyway, so the point there is that I'm wrestling the senior. I'm supposed to just not get pinned, not lose. I end up beating this kid, and from that point, I got super excited about wrestling, and it kind of carried me into my career. And I wrestled really high level in New York. I just was consistently, I think my last 2 years I was about 78-2. And so I had a good winning record at that point, and went to wrestle at state levels and national levels.
That's pretty sweet, 78-2.
Yeah, it was a big turnaround over time, and it was a lot of fun, and got me into wrestling and into other things of fitness and martial arts over time. I can ramble for this for a little bit longer. I went to wrestle in college. My freshman year, I was like, I just want to focus on school. I want to be a doctor. I want to focus on my major biomedical sciences.
You said you didn't I didn't
want to wrestle.
See, that's what I was about to ask.
Yeah. I didn't want to wrestle. I got recruited to wrestle. I got recruited to play football. I didn't want to play any sports in college at all. I was like, I just want to focus on school. That's all I want to do. But after that year, I really missed wrestling, and I did go out for the team, and I got on the team, but I got hurt wrestling in college. Herniated disc in my back, and that's actually made chiropractic. I was ready to go to medical school, and when I went to got this back injury, essentially like, well, we're going to have to do injections. We're going to have to probably do surgery. There's not a good solution. And a chiropractor helped me, and that's what got me to becoming a chiropractor, actually. So it was kind of so all of these things transitioned me into other parts of my life, really.
But before that, you already knew you wanted to be in the medical field. When did you know that?
I would think probably right about my junior year in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what made you want to do that?
I just always I don't even know how that came about. I always wanted to help people. I like health. I was big into, I said, wrestling and working out and nutrition at that point. So I was very interested in the body and how that worked. When I was in high school, I worked in a gym actually initially as a bathroom cleaner, janitor, but I started becoming a trainer over time. So I was just really into in the human body and health and fitness. So I thought that'd be a good natural transition for me. So I got into I'm a medical doctor. It sounds like a cool profession. I can help people. As I learned more, I recognized I want to do things with a more natural bend to it. And so chiropractic ended up being a really great fit for me at the end of the day too. So
it's really fascinating how, you got billions of people on earth. Right. We're all walking around in this body, and most people don't even understand actually what's underneath their skin. Right. Like their organs, the tissue, the muscles, the bones, the ligaments, the tendons, like the veins, the lymphatic system. Like there's so much inside of your body, and most people don't have a clue what's inside them, what's going on. Like if something's hurting, they can't figure out what it is. It's like they always just have to go to someone else to figure out what's going on with their own body. Right. And the human anatomy definitely fascinates me, and I'm by far no expert, and I have a lot to learn. But even like those, like the skeletons you have at your office, right. I was like, dang, man, I want to buy some of those just to have in my house. Like just when I'm walking through the room, just walk up and just, I wonder what that bone is. And then, spend an hour or two just watching videos on that bone, and like just knowing what's inside of you, man, it's very interesting. And like, it's important, to know what's inside of you so you can pinpoint when something hurts or when something doesn't feel right. But, most people, because like when I injured my finger from my last fight in Memphis, I was like, okay, what is actually hurting? Did I bruise the bone? Is it a muscle? Is it a ligament? Is it a tendon? So I started to look more into what is actually like the structure of the hand and looking at the tendons and the ligaments. And so I didn't know what the difference between a ligament and a tendon was. So the ligament connects the bone to bone, right? Yep. And then the tendon connects muscle to bone.
Nailed it.
Right. Okay. So I'm surprised I got that. Thank God I'm sweating right now. I didn't know if I was gonna get that right. But yeah, so I guess I pinpointed it, and it's I just forgot which is which. So the ligament connects the bone to bone, and then the tendon connects the muscles to the bones. Yeah. So I'm guessing it's that top ligament. Or tendon.
Tendon probably for you.
So I get them. I'm still getting them confused. It's like
you're doing good.
I have to really think about it to try to figure, and I have to picture in my brain and then obviously it's so hard to remember the things until you study it a lot. And then another thing that I realized after school is when you're learning something, if you don't have to take tests on it, it's so much harder to remember. Like taking tests is what really makes you remember things.
You synthesize it, integrate in your brain differently at that point. Yeah,
right.
You have great neural pathways to be able to recall it and bring it back up. Absolutely. Right. And you're saying so many things that are so awesome that I want to reference something. One of the things I just want to compliment you on, knowing you now for a while, you understand your body. You understand what it takes to heal your body. You understand like this idea of this ice bath. And you're always reaching to make your physical health better. But the fact is that you would recognize that you have an injury to your hand, and you're even willing to, I would say, alter the way you fight in order to make sure protect your hand more and listen to your body to not injure yourself further.
Right.
I know that, this is like you fight. This is what you do. I don't, but I take care of the human body, of course. So many people don't listen to your body. They have an injury and they push it beyond what it should be, and they create more damage, more injury, and they don't recognize if you hurt yourself more permanently, you're out for a year, or if you just take it easy for 4 weeks, you can be out for 4 weeks or change what you're doing for 4 weeks, and it makes so much more sense at that point. So right. I wanted to compliment that, just knowing your body and understanding your body. If people do that more often, they can be more responsible for their health versus having to just go to somebody else in every case, every time. Taking kind of, I'd say, personal responsibility for their health to some degree is a really great thing that we can do better in our society now than we could do 100 years ago, for sure. There's more information out there,
right? Which
can be confusing. Sometimes there's too much information. If you get the right source, it can be very helpful for you as well. So
yeah, because the thing is, it's like, since the dawn of time, you have your healers.
Yep.
But there's no reason that everyone can't be a healer on some type of level. Like even understanding the importance of drinking water. Yep. Like that's healing right there. Just drinking enough water every day. But yeah, it's that's something that has really been on my mind for the last couple years, and definitely the last year, is the fact that pain is a part of life. You know, your body, the cells in your body are constantly dying and new ones are regenerating. And there's always going to be problems, especially as you get older. You see all these people, the older people with back pain, knee pain, hip pain, all this stuff. So like, I know that's a part of life. And then the fact that I'm a fighter, I know, oh, now it's going to be a big part of my life. I know when I get older, I'm going to be hurting every day, waking up, but I can minimize, how much I'm going to hurt.
Right.
I can minimize how much brain damage I'm going to have, from fighting. And yeah, I'm very aware of how I feel. And it's so crazy because I'm starting, I've been realizing that for the last couple years. When you're a kid, you don't really feel your body. Like you're just living in it and you're not even aware of, just like you're living in your house, your parents are paying for it. You see the lights, you flip the switches on, you got running water, you got food, but you don't really understand like everything it takes for it to get there. Like you're just living in that house, but you don't really understand what it takes, what that house really is. But as you get older, man, you're feeling that body. I mean, from the moment you wake up, you're feeling every little thing. Like, is your breathing a little different today? Is your neck hurting? What's going on with my knee? Mm-hmm. Why is my hand kind of cramping? Like, you just start to feel every part of your body, and it's crazy because like people talk about how like weed heals and it helps you feel better with pain and this and that. But one thing I noticed, for me, it does not do that. Mm-hmm. It puts me so into tune with my body. If I try to smoke, now I'm actually feeling that injury that I might not have felt. Mm-hmm. Like that's why, I don't for me, I know that it's not going to help me feel better. Like if I was to come home after training, there's been times where I got home after training and I felt good. And then I smoked and all of a sudden my breathing felt heavier and I realized, damn, my body is exhausted.
You're more aware.
And I can start to feel the soreness in my body just because I'm more aware of it. So, it's like they say it heals. But I think the CBD is the part that really does the healing, as far as the inflammation. Yeah. But the psychoactive part definitely can put you in tune with how you're feeling. Yeah. And that's not always helpful.
Yeah, I don't know about CBD. I think probably, I'm not an expert in this area, but probably CBD would be more advantageous for the purposes of healing and the way you'd feel more than, of course, smoking. Of course, there's a level of CBD when you smoke. But if you would distill those things down into those oils, you'd probably be better off overall too.
Right.
I'm not suggesting you do those things. But
no, I get I get the CBD like creams and stuff, like the Icy Hot mixed with the, not that brand, but the Icy Hot type stuff, the stuff with the menthol in it. And yeah, I use that stuff all the time.
Sir. You mentioned kids. It's funny because kids can almost like juggle chainsaws and swallow fire. There's no, they're not aware of things, one thing, but their bodies are different. They're more pliable. They're more elastic. The bones aren't fully fused. Their bones, where we break, they tend to bend, and so that's why kids get away with more too. Right. That's what I mentioned. That, what's weird about my profession is so often people have injuries when they're a child, and they'll say, "Oh, it didn't cause me problems," and I'll see them like 25 years later, and they're like, "Well, I had an injury. There's a car crash. I fell off a roof. Whatever crazy thing it might be. I was riding a bull, and I had a little pain for 2 days." And then kids are very resilient; they get better quick. But it can set them up for biomechanical changes in the spine, of the nerves, of areas in their body they don't recognize. And like a year down the road, they're having migraine headaches. And they didn't recognize it was connected. And then I say 5 years down the road, they're having bowel issues. And those can all be connected to some degree to an original injury that really wasn't resolved correctly. Because as a child, you have no clue that it's actually affecting your body, not self-aware. The pains don't stick around very long. You're elastic. And so these are things I talk to patients about all the time, actually.
So what do you have to say to the people out there that say chiropractic care, chiropractors are quacks? That stuff is because, a lot of people believe that chiropractic care is just like, they don't see it as like real medical. Yeah. Like I don't understand why, because there's facts, you can look it up, So what do you have to say about you're fighting for the chiropractors right now?
Okay, I'll think about it for a minute because I don't know I have the answer for all of them. I'd say to start with that, of course, there's good and bad in all professions, meaning that there's good lawyers and bad lawyers.
Right.
There's good cops and bad cops, and I would say on the whole, cops are great and lawyers are great, but there could be good chiropractors and bad chiropractors, and I think that probably a lot of cases that where the public perception of chiropractic would be less than ideal, I think a lot of those cases come from the bad apples that might be out there. You understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't want to get all the things that could be bad apple-like, but there was a thing back in I think it was the 70s, the chiropractic profession was under attack from the AMA, actually. And they won this big, huge lawsuit.
What's the AMA?
American Medical Association.
Okay.
There's a deal where medical doctors weren't allowed to associate with chiropractors, and if they were, they'd lose their licenses, things like that. So there's a real attack from the medical profession on chiropractic. Now, again, that was a lot of years ago. I don't remember all those details, honestly, but there was a campaign against chiropractic, and so that was probably part of the perception that people hear as well, just things that have been around for 50 and 60 years that just kind of get passed down from generation to generation. But then the idea, of course, there's bad in all bunches. I think where we sometimes, as a profession, I'll just talk about as a profession, we do good to care about our patients and love people and want to help people. And sometimes it makes us overzealous sometimes as well. Like I can't help everybody with everything. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And so that could also create a stereotype where if I think I can fix everything out there in the world, which I don't think that, of course, and I would get people to perceive that be the case, that'd be bad. My whole thing, though, is that within our profession, I can't guarantee somebody a certain solution to migraine headaches or bowel issues or respiratory issues or neck pain or back pain or headaches. But what I can guarantee is my very best work. And very often when the nervous system is working better, that's the brain, the spinal cord, from what we're doing, the body has the ability to heal itself. And in that process of healing itself, many times people come with all kinds of testimonials, all kinds of changes, and they have huge changes in their life from what we do. And you said there's studies. And right recently, like it was actually 4 years ago, I got published with a bunch of other authors, chiropractors. We did something called a pulse pressure study. I won't make you learn all this, don't worry. But the idea is that pulse pressure is the difference between the top number and bottom number in blood pressure. It's the difference between systolic and diastolic. And an average number should be about 40. You with me on that? So 40 is the good number. You want to be healthy at 40. It's like 120 over 80 is 40 differential. Does that make sense? That's the pulse pressure. Okay. I'm not going to be too boring, I hope, here. But the pulse pressure is a big indicator. When you look at morbidity studies, people dying in nursing homes, it's actually a better predictor. If they get to like 60 or 70, the more it gets out of range, the more likely somebody's die early in their life, essentially. So it's better predictor than cholesterol, than just overall blood pressure. It's better predictor than a bunch of other factors. We look at obesity. So when people have higher pulse pressures, they're just not going to live as long. They're just not as healthy. And the thing that controls that largely is the autonomic nervous system, ANS, and that resides pretty much within the brainstem. That's where I specialize in upper cervical work. And so we did a study with a bunch of other offices, a bunch of other people. We had a bunch of stuff. We had like about 300 people in this actual study. On average, people went closer to 40 in every one of these cases. And so we went and actually decreased the pulse pressure. It was like 50, went to 43. It was like 62, went to 51, and through only giving upper cervical care. So we're actually showing we're affecting the ANS or the pulse pressure, which does bring more health to a person's life. Now, I can't be like, I'm going to solve your pulse pressure. I'm not going to cure your pulse pressure. But what I'm saying is we know that doing upper cervical work actually makes people healthier as a whole, and the body can heal and respond to the environment around it better and adapt to the challenges. And that if there's a health issue, crisis, you're likely to be able to deal with that crisis at that time. And then we took that same set of data. We did also something called depression questionnaires. We saw that people on average scored less depression through upper cervical care. We did nothing for neurotransmitters. We did nothing for anything besides upper cervical care. We weren't trying to treat their pain in that case, but they actually scored themselves as actually happier people and less depressed through simply getting upper cervical care. And I love to think that I'm so awesome and positive to be around that people just were happier, but that's not the case at all because it was in multiple offices with multiple doctors with different personalities as well. So just kind of things, there's studies out there is my point, and saying that there's a lot of good evidence to show that what we're doing is very helpful. And that's a very obscure part of the profession, let alone the fact that just with spinal injuries, with neck and muscular issues, with hand issues and laser therapies, there's all kinds of data out there that shows it's very helpful and healthy for people too.
Right.
You with me on that?
Yeah, 100%.
Did I do a good job to advocate for it?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good.
You did for sure.
Good.
And yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, a lot of people they don't even know. You know, they just hear something, they see a news article, and they start to run with it, but they have no idea what's actually going on inside of them. And and the one thing like that I noticed quickly when coming into your office is, you know, you broke it down and you explained to me, you know, what, like you said, I had an injury when I was, 7 or younger, and then you showed me my x-rays, and then, you just went into depth with things, and a lot of people just, they don't really care to know about that stuff, and so they kind of just tune out. But I like that, and if you can tell me something about my body that I didn't even know, that just goes to show the level of knowledge, and a lot of people they're just dumb. I'm sorry, but a lot of these people out here, they're just not that bright,
Well, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying here today. What I do find in the news mentioned, some people want to know more, and I have to kind of be aware of what people are interested in. I want to have people have more information and more education so they can better take care of themselves. If I can educate a person to understand things better, they can make better decisions in the future, not just when they're with me, but for their whole health at that point on.
Like, for example, I can guarantee you this. I can almost guarantee this. If you're going and seeing a chiropractor on a regular basis, you're gonna be more aware of your posture throughout the day, every day.
Yeah, it's true.
Like literally, choices. It's just on your mind because you're thinking about your spine. So you're thinking about your posture. You're thinking, okay, if I'm sitting all slumped all the time, if I'm laying wrong, like it's gonna cause an effect. And we feel it. You'll be sitting on the couch in a weird position, and then when you get up 30 minutes an hour later, you're like, oh, what the fuck?
Right.
But you chose to sit that way. So that was one thing, I like is the fact that I'm focused more on my posture just from, coming and seeing you. And, damn, there was something else and it's slipping my mind. So another thing that I liked was, you were telling me about how the adjustments are going to put my body in a state to where it can heal itself better.
Right.
Even if you're not doing something even if there's not something you're trying to fix on me,
right.
You're putting my body in a state to where it can heal itself better. And I mean, that's super important for everybody, but definitely for someone like me that, is an athlete.
Yep.
I need my body to be able to heal itself as fast as possible.
So my main goal with people is to create optimal function of their health so I can perform and heal at its optimum function. That's what I want all the time for everybody. And you mentioned this too, like being aware of your posture. But we're trying to teach people how to hold adjustments. If I have to adjust you over and over and over again, it's never holding. I want you to learn how to better hold it, so we have to do less to you so your body can do more, and ultimately you're going to become healthier in that way as well. That's one of the philosophies of Chiropractic. It's a bit different than, I would say, just all forms of chiropractic. We want to hold, and we say holding is healing, but we want to teach you things to better hold your adjustment. Like you said, postural things, but there's another things that people make better choices in all areas when they're consistent around a health environment. They're making better food choices, and I know I don't want to out you, but I'm pretty sure you're still a vegan.
Look, so I was a vegan for like 5 years, and here in the last 6 months, I've been eating a little bit of chicken and eggs.
Okay.
And I haven't really noticed a big difference, but a lot of it is just me just being lazy. I haven't been wanting to cook anything at all, and I got tired of eating the same things at the same restaurants here, so I started to mix it up a little bit more and put some chicken back in my diet.
Right.
But I mean, it's not like a everyday thing. It's just whatever.
Well, my point is you focus on it and you care about what you put in your body. It fuels, just to get that fuel that feeds your engine. If you put in let's say you have a jet plane. You can't put in regular unleaded in that thing and think that jet's going to run correctly. You got to put the jet fuel in there. Well, if you're optimally functioning, you're a jet. I'm going to call you a jet because you're a top level athlete.
Yeah, straight up jet.
Put the jet fuel in there and you're focusing on what fuel you're putting in your body. Most people don't do that at all. They eat whatever's in front of them. They have no conscious effort. And so when they come to us, I know that we're not talking about what you're eating all the time, but you're in a health environment consistently. You start making better choices in terms of, I want some dinner. And you're like, well, let me tell you something else. You've probably not been to this, but we do this workshop with our patients when they become, we call it patient orientation.
No, class. I did do that. And that was like a number one thing that they spoke about.
Good.
And she showed us this
McDonald's
sandwich.
Good.
And she asked us, how old do y'all think this burger is? I said, I don't know, probably a year old. It was like 15 plus years old. Yeah. And, it looked like, a burger that was just, a few days old or whatever. Good. It was showing this ain't real food because guess what? Real food, it decays quickly, very quickly. Like avocado, the best. And that's how you know avocados like the top tier of superfood because once you cut that bad boy, you leave it out for a day, it's done. It's dead. You can't eat that no more. So
So that's my point, that the people just don't recognize that. But when we talk about these things, even in passing, even slightly, they start making better choices in all areas, and it's pretty awesome. I guess I'll share this. I had a little note there too as you were talking. I have offices in other states as well. I think you knew that.
I didn't know that.
So we changed the name from Kessinger, right, who's my mentor.
Ashley, can you move this for me? I have such a strong note. It's the ammo cam. It's a badass. You know Will Perry?
I don't know him personally, but I know who
Well,
he is.
yeah, he made me this. This is what
really
he
cool.
does with his company.
Right on.
It smells like oil, and my nose is so strong. Like, it's all I can smell right now.
Like normal oils.
Could you not smell it?
I could smell it,
Yeah.
especially as you picked it up.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, yeah. So I have other offices, and it's so. I was talking to John recently about this, and just it's so rewarding seeing people do things that you've kind of been part of or taught them. But they were giving me this. I would say it's a sad story, but almost in paraphrase, so it's not 7 minutes. They had this patient. They've been in there for about a year now. They got close to the family. They had the whole family in there. Well, recently, the husband, he died in a kind of horrific car crash. It's awful, terrible situation. And there's kids involved, but they're at the funeral. And, you know, it's hard to go to a funeral, people you're close to. And he's like 45 years old. He's a pretty young guy. But the wife said to him, you know, my husband for the past year is my husband. Like before he met you, he was in pain. He was suffering. His personality was different. And even though we've lost him, I'm so grateful to you all to have my husband back for that past year when he was met you all. And it's just so cool to see that kind of stuff. And again, it's just not even we're physically working on the body, but literally people's, when they're in pain, their attitudes change and how they react to their spouse changes. And so there's so many differences you can get in your body just from something, I would say so easy, so basic of chiropractic that can change lives in really profound ways. And it's really fun. I had another thing I made as you were talking, like I had this patient. He was a little kid, and again, we don't deal with these all the time, but he was immunocompromised. And so when I met him, he was wearing a mask. He couldn't.
Immunocompromised?
His immune system was like, it was kind of like the boy in the bubble, but he wasn't in a bubble. He just was a really weak immune system. He's always wearing a mask, and this was before COVID. Nobody wore masks back then. It was early minded profession, and he couldn't have a dog. He's allergic to everything. Couldn't have a cat. Couldn't go outside with other kids. Really couldn't have normal life. Every time he'd get like a cold, they would turn into like bronchitis and pneumonia. I don't remember the exact, but I think by the time he was like 3 when I met him, he'd been on like 150 rounds of antibiotics. I don't remember the exact numbers with that. Like just every sickness would be very bad for him, a major issue. I started working with them, and he started getting healthier. And his immune system started getting better, less allergic. And before too long, he was playing like outside in the grass, which is a big deal. And he started getting to soccer, and he got into with the dog, and so he just started having a normal kid life. And I think it was right about the time that he had just turned 5. His mom says, "Can I talk to you in private?" Because you know we have a lot of things that just kind of like people can hear.
Yeah.
My mom would talk in private, and she goes, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And she started crying, and she goes, "I never told you this, but they told me that my son wouldn't live to his 5th-year-old birthday. He's so immunocompromised. He just celebrated his 5th birthday, and I'm so thankful for the work that you do and helping him so much." And it's like these things to me, I can say to you, like, I would like to help headaches and back pain, but I just want to see people's lives change. And it's so impactful when these kind of stories, like I have tons of stories like that. And I don't take credit for changing that kid's life. It's the power of his own body. There's something we call innate intelligence. His body, I just help express its own ability to heal itself. It wasn't that I healed the immune system. His body did that. We just have to release that switch. And sometimes we call it like the switch between God and man in some ways. And just, the body started healing itself, doing what it's supposed to do. And it just changes everything for so many people.
Right, because that's what the body is supposed to be able to heal itself. Like you get a cut, the skin heals itself.
That's what the body does, yeah.
And I mean, I've watched so many videos of healers and stuff, and people talk about like your body should be able to heal like anything that's wrong with it, if it's just given the right things. And first and foremost is nutrients. You got to have nutrients to heal yourself, and most people don't. Like they don't even know, like they know about vitamins and stuff, but they don't really know. There's like, the body needs like 100, it's like 102 to like 120 different minerals.
Trace minerals too.
Yeah,
that's right.
Right, and I mean most people don't have the slightest clue what type of minerals those are.
It's this is like again, if you get too much of these rabbit trails, let me know. Like going it back in, man. But so I had this friend, vegan, 7 years, raw vegan. One of the healthiest guys, like, dude, yoga, he's just way into it. And he ended up getting, it almost looked like he had leprosy all over his left arm. And his arm looked like it was just like falling off. His like skin started just falling apart.
What?
Yeah, it was like crazy. And he couldn't figure it out because he's super healthy. And he was very specific about being a vegan. He would do spirulina and chlorella and kelp and what kinds of different vitamins. And he was very, very detailed. He was a very smart vegan. You know how sometimes people are vegans, but they're kind of like silly and like they just
like eat vegan junk food.
Yeah. They're eating nothing but like
as long as it's not animal products, it's good for me.
They're a vegetarian. All they eat is like chips and like ice cream all day long.
Right.
So he was really like solid on this. He understood the nutrition too, and then he started learning about trace minerals because he started finding that his skin was doing this crazy thing, and ended up being he was deficient like some trace minerals like copper and I think it was like selenium, and he wasn't getting those within his diet. He started dealing with that, getting some more omega-3s. and he got him through fish oil at that point, and his arm totally healed up.
See,
It was
that's
crazy.
so when I had looked at the minerals, I got into this like 3 years ago. I'm like, okay, I need all these minerals, and I don't even know what 90% of these minerals are. Like, I don't even. And then copper was one of the ones. I'm like, so I need to eat copper. I'm like, hold on. I'm like, silver, gold, like. Yeah, these are things like that your body needs, and you're getting them in ways you didn't know, and and there, I've watched a lot of different documentaries on like how it's harder to get these because like the soil from a lot of these
soil depletion,
soil depletion,
over farming,
right, and I mean it's just, and it seems like a lot, but it's just something you need to be aware of and try to. I mean, come on. If you're spending a freaking an hour to 10 hours a day watching goofy YouTube videos, surely you can watch a 30-minute video on minerals or on, how to find the best quality water in the grocery store. Like just all these little things, and they add up. They really do. And then before you know it, 10 years later, you actually know a lot of stuff, and opposed to just being the same goofy.
So you're kind of guy.
I had a question before it slips my mind again. So do you ever have anyone come into your office and you do your x-rays and you look at me and you're just like, your spinal alignment's perfect. There's nothing I can do for you.
It's rare, but it happens sometimes too. Yeah, it's rare because, let me make a note here. I want to get to it. I don't want to forget it either. Okay. So rarely people come in and their spines look great. Like, this is really good. You just need to come in for maintenance care. I'll see you next month. That does happen.
And what does the maintenance care consist of?
They'll come like once a month. We'll scan them, and if they need to be adjusted those moments, we'll do it. So one of the questions would be too is like, with upper cervical spine, if there's never been an injury in somebody's life, there'd be pretty much no chance they'd have a damaged upper cervical spine at all. But then there's more conversations that we can say that can be a factor. Like we say, like just mental stress or like your thought life can actually create stress to the system as well, of course. And then toxicities through like foods and air and water create problems. Then, of course, traumas. We call it the 3 T's. Thoughts, traumas, toxins. Fair enough. So oftentimes people come with a good-looking spine. They're usually coming to me for a very specific reason. They're like, I have a health issue. I like when they come and say, I just want optimal health. That is super rare, though. Somebody who's thinking like that is just a different character. People don't usually like, I just want the best functioning. I've heard you help me with that. That's really cool, though. I love those situations. So they usually come with a health issue. So in the case we look at the spine, like there's very little wrong with the spine. We're going to give you upper cervical care to make sure you have the best functioning and the best quality of life still. But I don't think it's related to your issue. We do oftentimes look at things like functional medicine, looking at lab work and things like like mineral deficiencies and food sensitivities and gut issues and just dysbiosis of the gut. And there's things we'll look at like that. That's called functional medicine. So some of this will help people with that. But more recently, I've gotten involved with a clinic called Kingdom Health and Wellness.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times.
Yeah, and so they do like IV therapies over there, things like that. And so oftentimes I refer people over there. I recognize the problem is more up that alley. It needs to go there. 8 years ago, I was doing a lot of that work, but it just was so time intensive that I like upper cervical work much better. I can actually work with more people and actually enjoy it more than sitting down and spending hours and hours in one single person, even though that's great. And I was really happy that Kingdom is open now and really help people that way too.
So do they do blood work there?
Yeah, blood work there and everything, yeah.
Because I can't remember last time I had blood work done.
Yeah, you just be talking to one of the providers, and that does happen over there for sure, yeah. Just talking about what your needs and everything are. Some people just go over there for like nutritional IVs and other purposes like that. But other people work with the nurse practitioner, nurses over there, and they get the changes. And they do a lot of hormonal stuff over there as well. And so, a lot of people have thyroid issues and female hormonal issues that they see over there also. So, yeah, but it's fun. Hey, back to the mineral thing. I wanted to just touch on that quick. You should focus on that stuff, but some people just need to learn how to have a balanced diet. Like, in one of the easiest things to do, like I don't think many people like listening to this today are like, I need help with my diet. But
no, most of the people that's listening to this podcast, they're like they're probably fighters, martial artists, and people that are into fitness and nutrition.
But if you had family members, aunts, uncles, moms, dads, kids, wives, things like that didn't focus on this, they don't really need to hear about the minerals. They need to eat real foods. And I would say fresh out of the ground, fruits, vegetables, and meats are really ideal to start with. Thus process it. If it doesn't come in a box, doesn't come in a can, doesn't come frozen, it's the best way to start. And if you start that way, then you want to work on minerals, think some of these more subtle nuances down the road. I think most people just need, it's like the 80-20 rule, 20% of things is just eating real foods and you get 80% of the results. Now you might have a health issue or you want to optimize beyond that point, and then you have to dig in deeper, minerals, other things like this, gut dysbiosis, parasitical things, But for most people, just starting someplace and actually focusing on your health a little bit is a great place to start.
Yeah, and like one of the things I taught my son was just walking through and you can show your kid. This is a great thing to like show your kids.
Yeah.
You take them to the fruit and vegetables, and you tell them, show me where the ingredients. And when you pick up a carrot, when you pick up a banana, when you pick these things up, there's no ingredients list on the back.
Just is what it is.
It just is what it is, right? And that was something, you know, one of the first things I taught my son. You know, no one took a whole bunch of stuff and mixed it together to make this. This is just how it grows. This is real food, you know. And like with the 80-20% rule, you know, I like to live by that as well. And the way I see it, also another thing people can do is, you have so many holidays, so many birthdays, all this and that. Just eat good, clean food, and then wait for like the holidays. You know, which there's a holiday every month. Yeah. There's birthdays every other week. You know, wait for those special days to actually. Like I told my kids, why do you think that we eat cake and ice cream on our birthday? Because it's once a year and it's a very special occasion. So like when I take my kids to other like birthday parties and stuff, there's many times I take them and I don't let them eat cake and ice cream. You know, like my son, he's one of the only kids that I guarantee you meet, you can offer him some like candy or some junk and he'll turn it down.
Right.
You know, not every time, but most of the time he'll turn it down. Yeah. Especially if he's not hungry. Yeah. But my daughter, nah, she ain't turned down nothing but the collar. Like she ain't turning down no junk food. So, but yeah, I definitely wanted to raise my kids differently because I didn't even understand nutrition until I was like 19. I wasn't even drinking water. Like when I was 19, I realized I'm like, damn, I don't even drink water. Like I was drinking sweet tea, Gatorade, soda, all this stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't even drink water. So now every time my body needs water, it has to filter out all the bullshit that's mixed in with those drinks. Look, I had this neighbor one time. He drank beer every day. And he was outside one day. I walked past him. I'm like, man, when you gonna drink some water? He looked at the beer. He said, "There's water in here." I was like, this freaking doofus, man.
Well, that's so funny.
It was a good one, yeah.
Yeah, well, there is water in there, but you probably know this anyway because you're with it. There's a part of your brain called the pituitary gland.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the posterior part of that has two major hormones coming out of it, and one is antidiuretic hormone. And so when you drink alcohol, it blocks that, and you actually just excrete more fluids out of your kidneys that way. So
that's why you pee so much?
That's why you pee so much.
Okay.
You block the ADH coming out of your posterior pituitary, and then suddenly you're peeing all over the place just because it blocks that.
So,
it dehydrates you is my point.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah. And that's why that you got that massive headache the next day. So do you know about Wim Hof?
I know enough about him not to be an expert, but I know about him, yes.
Yeah, you'd be fascinated with his work. So he's been teaching people like these breathing exercises and then the cold exposure for your lymphatic system, he talks about the brainstem all the time, talks about like the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, and like all these different things. So I know you'd be interested in his work. I haven't been doing the breathing techniques that much, but I mean, I do the ice baths like 5 times a week, you know, after I'm done training. And yeah, you can physically feel and visually see the difference like in your recovery when you're doing those ice baths every day. And even your mental health too. Like it just makes a big difference in how you feel like physically and mentally throughout the day. And then it helps regulate your hormones and all that stuff. And it's just crazy. Like the brainstem, most people don't even realize like what that is and how it controls like everything in your body. You know. But the ice baths, they definitely they turn into a different type of beast.
Yeah, you made me think of something as not about ice baths, but about came back to brainstem. So you're talking about earlier, and you were saying like understanding and learning and focusing. It's kind of wild, but when I first was going through school, there was this guy kind of developed chiropractic to some degree, upper cervical chiropractic. His name is BJ Palmer. You don't have to look him up or anything like that, but he used to suggest to people to carry around a atlas and axis, the top 2 vertebrae, if you want to get good at that, and feel them and touch them. When you stop at a stoplight or you're going throughout your day.
Carry around what?
The top bone, atlas and axis, the 2 bones, like a model of them, so you can study them, look how they move and how they change. I used to literally study those things like hours and hours every day, looking at those bones and understand how to make a proper adjustment to them. And I was just telling you this only for the purpose of your craft as well. When you focus on something very intently and spend hundreds of hours on a thing that's, even though it's minor and it's not a huge issue, it seems like that moment, when you look at it more and more and more, you become an expert at that thing. And so it's the idea, like Bruce Lee, I don't fear the man that knows 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who knows one kick.
That does 10,000 kicks one time,
That's
but
right.
one kick 10,000
Right.
times.
And so in some ways, when you really want to understand something better, really honing in on those areas, it makes a huge difference for people. And that made, again, from me being good at my work, like I'm out teaching chiropractors, things like that now, but it wasn't because I just was like, oh, I'm just gifted. It's, you have to take the time. You mentioned like not looking at YouTube videos that are just random and nonsensical on Netflix all the time, but actually studying things. If you want to be a top level performer, fighter, chiropractor, whatever it is, whatever you want to be, you got to put the time in. If you put your time into, I'll just say nonsense, like the random Netflix show that's out here right now, you spend 20 hours a week doing that,
Right.
You're losing so much production time for your actual life to actually to be part of life versus just a spectator of life. And I know you want to be the top tier. You want to be the the showstopper.
Right.
And so you can't just sit back and hang out watching Netflix and
Right.
not doing much always. And so I really appreciate about you. It's
I
cool
mean,
about you. I
like,
like that.
because like you adjust people's spine,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to adjust their whole, their
breaking it
face,
up.
I'm trying to break them down. You know what I'm saying?
Take 'em
So,
apart.
like with pinpoint precision, like
Right.
everything I'm doing is like this is an adjustment.
Yep.
You know.
Very precise. That's right.
But it's like backwards from what you're doing. Like
Yeah,
I'm
but
trying,
it's
I'm
okay.
trying to adjust you in the wrong way.
You take them apart, I'll put them back together. It's all good.
Oh yeah. So I'll send all my opponents
Right.
to you.
No problem, man. I like that.
Yeah, but I actually, when I was younger, I thought to myself that I thought I was gonna be a doctor when I grew up.
Okay.
That was something that I just always was fascinated by the human body and healing. You know, it's something I really I'm just fascinated by. You know, and like. So with the YouTube, people are watching this video on YouTube. They watch the videos on YouTube every day. You don't have to. A lot of people, they're just so intimidated because first they don't even understand the words that are being used. So sometimes I'll watch, even when I'm driving, and like they're explaining stuff, like they're showing the tendons, the ligaments, the bones, the muscles. Even though I can't watch that video because I'm driving, just hearing the words, I'm like, first let me start. If you don't even hear these words, then it's always going to be words you don't even know. So just hearing the words and then when someone says it, like lymphatic system, you're like, oh, okay, I heard that. Before you even know what it is, at least now you know what the word is. And now the next time when they explain what it is, you're like, okay, now you know what it is. And, the lymphatic system, I had no idea what that was when I first heard of it. And it's basically like it's the lymph, the water that's flowing through your body. And it's like right next to your veins, there's a whole nother stream, and that's the lymph. And then you got the lymph nodes that are all throughout your body, which are like the filters. And yeah, I was like, okay, that's badass. I didn't know what that was.
You say that too, so I do my best. Now, I'm not really focused on it right now here today, but when I talk to patients that are new to the medical profession, like the medical profession is like a whole new vocabulary. It's like a second language to some people. The people are like, I've never heard of that word before. Like, medulla oblongata, everybody knows that from the water boy. But besides that, people don't know parts of the brain at all, besides the medulla oblongata, which is part of the brainstem, of course. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make there is I try to always use words that are easier to articulate for me, but for them to understand if they're not any level of profession in the medical field. And so, lymphatic drainage is an example, just saying it takes out your trash. Your body uses food and breaks it apart. It has to go someplace, and that's your trash system, takes it out of your system.
Right.
And so those kind of things can be very helpful for people, and you're doing a good job of that, so good for you.
I'm trying.
Yeah, right on.
So the skin is the largest organ, right?
That is, yep, that's true.
And that's another thing that I love about the ice bath is because it is exercising every little part of all the skin that's touching in that water. And when you get out, like your skin's super red, and that's something Wim Hof always talked about. Like he's, like he'll say like your skin is alive right now, and I definitely like that as well. And a lot of people actually like movie stars and people that want to have a good looking face in the mornings, they'll have a bucket of cold water and they'll dip their face in it, and hold in there just to like tighten up their skin. Right. So taking the ice bath, it tightens up your skin as well.
I don't know much about being beautiful. That's not my thing. But my wife, she, I don't know, it's like this jade roller. It's like this stone, like jade. she puts it in the fridge, and she wakes up and puts on her eyes and all that stuff. So I guess it's,
it tightens up the skin.
She's got to figure it out, apparently. I didn't know.
Yeah.
She knows more than I knew about.
Yep.
I didn't know that about that.
Guys don't really worry about stuff like that.
Right.
You know, we don't have to be the beautiful ones.
Right,
so.
Right. Did you know that I'll expose myself here? Did you know I used to do modeling? Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, so I never was really into the looks or anything like that, but it used to help me make money for mission trips and paying for school, though, which is pretty cool.
What type of modeling are we talking?
What kind do you think I was talking about?
Some backdoor type stuff.
Man. Yeah, I was like a hand model. No, I was doing like fitness modeling stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I was really fit at the time, yeah. A lot of years ago, 25, 26 years old, and good shape and always into fitness, and so that was a natural transition for me. So
yeah, I'd love to get into it, but it's just another thing that's going to consume time.
Right,
you know, it'd be cool to get some little gigs like that, which I'm sure I will eventually, you know, but it's just crazy how, dude, time is such a, it's precious. Exactly. Yeah. It's like time is always of the essence. Right. And, you know, that's why you really got to just pick one thing and try to get really good at it.
Yep.
You know, what Will Smith said, plan B just distracts you from plan A.
I like that. You know what Warren Buffett is probably too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's this story about this guy named Mike, and he was Warren Buffett's pilot. And Warren Buffett, he said, I'll help you out. I'll help you invest. I'll help you, you know, whatever it was. And I got the story exactly right. But Mike came to him and said, hey, there's a bunch of things I want to do in my life that are really important to me, and I like to try to work through these things. And he goes, hey, well, do me a favor. Write down the 20 things you want to do most important in your life, the biggest goals you want to achieve, the biggest things you want to have. And so Mike the pilot brings him these 20 things, and Warren Buffett says, if you want to get these things, take away the last 15, never look at them ever again. Don't even think about them. Focus on the first 5, and then just be a chance to get those things.
Really?
So the idea is priorities.
That's sweet.
They did priorities. If you can't make everything a priority, nothing's a priority. If everything's important, nothing's important. So you have to sometimes just cut things away that are important to you. You know, I know that this is, you know, fighters and things like that, jiu-jitsu guys, 40 now. 110, 40, all similar, like you said earlier, 100. But I'm old, and, you know, I'll backpedal a little bit and try to get to the point here. I went to chiropractic school after getting hurt and getting help from a chiropractor. But after I got hurt, I got really good shape again. Started squatting 500 plus pounds and deadlifting 600 plus pounds. And I wanted to get back into some training. So I started doing judo after wrestling was over. I would do some Jeet Kune Do, and I did a little bit of that. And I did something called Kung Fu Do a little bit. And I started doing some Muay Thai kickboxing, a little boxing. I just wanted to get fit again in different ways and get into like hand-to-hand type of sports. And so this is about now 21, 22 years old. And as I got ready for chiropractic school, I recognized in my brain, because I was a big fan of the UFC, that I was going to Davenport, Iowa. That doesn't mean anything to you, but Iowa is where very close to where Pat Militage's school was.
Well, that's where I got that trophy behind me, the green one. Dubuque, Iowa.
There you go. Yes.
4-man kickboxing tournament.
Bettendorf, Iowa was where his gym was. And I was like, man, this is a great opportunity. So I started training like a beast to get ready to go train there. So the summer before I started chiropractic school, I trained like a crazy man, doing Muay Thai and doing some different things like that and doing some judo. And I wasn't able to find Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the time in my area. So I just trained on my own a little bit. But I went off to Militage's school and I started training with them. I got 3-4 months and started having some fights, things like that. And so that was one of those things that I had to drop it, though, when I started school.
And how old were you then?
22 by the time I was into that program, and 22, late 22 when I started my chiropractic program. But I had a fight, broke my nose, my ass, like I won it. It was cool, but I was like, I can't be the master of all things. And fighting is cool, and I like it, and I'm interested in it. But for what I want to do for my career and my future, I want like this idea of healing and helping people was more important. So I had to say, I just had to drop that. That was a mature thing for probably 22-year-old, because I was getting offered some pro fights at that time. Yeah. And I was like, no, I don't want to do
money,
that.
Right there.
And it wasn't going to be a lot of money at the time.
It's money.
It was going to be money, right? And it would have been cool. And you just have that on your resume that you're a pro fighter is really cool. Yeah. But I just dropped it and was like, I just want to do my profession. And I keep all that to say now I'm 40, but I've always had in the back of my mind, I want to be like a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So here I'm at 40 and never really doing that real consistently, 20 years out of everything I've ever done. And I'm back in class with you as your teammate over here.
Bring yourself all the way down back to the level 1 white belt, which, you know, if we were to take you to most schools around America, to BJJ schools, I mean, dude, you'd be creaming the white belts, you know, cool. You know, because of your, like you said, like you wrestled, you've done judo, you know, like you already can stand toe to toe with the blue belts, the purple belts, the brown belts, and even black belts. You know, so I mean that's really cool. I've been really happy that you came in. You know, because you're big, you're strong, you know how to wrestle, and so it's been fun having you in there.
It's been fun being there.
I don't like how you can overpower me.
Well,
you know, but
I'm a big guy compared to you. It's heavy.
Hey, that's gonna make
heavy.
It's gonna make my fights though so much easier.
So much easier. Yeah.
You know, so like training with the big guys. When a 145er grabs a hold of me, I'll never be like, "Oh shit, this guy's strong," because I'm just strong. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
The gym's crazy good. I don't know how I compete compared to other people in the country, like you said, but it's fun there, man. I know that I got a culture, like this idea of commitment to a thing over a long period of time. Like I know that now in my life, I have 10, 15 years to commit to this. Got to stay healthy, of course.
Right.
Got to be able to keep doing it. But I know that 10, 15 years from today, I might have a black belt. So it's always been one of my lifelong goals. And that's, so that's kind of why I'm back and that's what I'm up to there.
Right.
So, but it's fun because there's cool culture there. And
see, I've always wanted a black belt as well. So I can't wait till I get one. If I had never stopped going to Taekwondo, I'd probably be like a fucking 3rd or 4th degree black belt by now, but I stopped going to Taekwondo classes, which, I could still go back to peak performance Taekwondo and keep ranking up, but it's just time, you can't go to 1,000 different classes, several different schools. I'm already going to, a couple different schools. So it's just a time thing too. But I hate that I'm halfway to a black belt in Taekwondo right now. So I do believe eventually I'll finish that. But right now I'm just focusing my training elsewhere. And yeah, it's nice that I finally have my blue belt in jiu-jitsu too, because I've been doing, jiu-jitsu for basically 7 years. But John's school was the first actual jiu-jitsu school I started to attend. So
prior to this point, you're just training, and then you had some skills and experience to bring with you. So how long were you there before you got your blue belt?
I don't know, couple
years,
2 years, I think. Yeah.
Pretty typical.
Well, see, and then I had got injured too, so I had to stop going for a while. But I don't know. You'd have to ask John. I don't even keep track of that type of stuff. I mean, I try to, but
the belt thing doesn't matter that much. You just want to get perfection over time at something too, right? I know that's kind of your thing. Perfect your craft, get good at it, and you can get the belt in Taekwondo later, whatever might be, like you said. But one of the things is
but I got these. Hey, I got, you know what I'm saying? These belts are, you know what I'm saying? The MMA belts those are the sweet belts.
It's better than the belt you can get otherwise. Yeah,
those are sweet. Those are some sweet belts.
But that consistency, though, just doing things for a long period of time, you get really good over long periods of time.
But so right now I have my blue belt. Dude, if John tried to give me my purple belt right now, which he wouldn't, I'd be like, no.
You would turn it down.
Because the thing is, I wanted my blue belt so bad because I hated the fact that, I know all these different positions and submissions, but I just never trained in the gi. It was all no gi.
Right.
But as I started to go to his classes more and more, I started to realize, you know what? I don't even want the blue belt yet. It humbled me knowing oh dude, just the more you learn, the more you realize I'm dumb. It's you just keep getting humbled every single time you learn something new.
Yeah.
You think you know how to do the submission, you try it, you're not getting it. It's just it's jiu-jitsu is very, very humbling.
Right on. Yeah, there's this, I can't remember what it's called, but there's this curve in this business people talk about when you're new to something, you have this huge amount of confidence in it. I know everything.
Yeah.
But then when you learn a bit more, you start to learn what you don't know. So your confidence goes down to here.
Right.
And then you start learning, getting good, and it starts steep growth and you get better, but you never were as high in confidence as you were when you didn't know anything, because you always know what you didn't know.
When you know nothing,
right,
and you learn one thing, you're like, oh shit, I'm a beast, dude, because nobody else knows this.
Right.
If they ain't been to these classes, don't nobody know this.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It really is.
Hey, as we're kind of punching through here, I had my good friend, my best friend's, his dad was a golf instructor. He's passed away now. But I think this will speak to you a little bit. I don't think I've ever told you this story. So he's like, Jared, come over here. I'm going to film you swing a little bit. You're an athlete. You can learn how to swing a club. I'm like, I can't swing a club. His name's Larry. He's a great man. Another person that really poured in my life and is a cool mentor for my life. But he goes, let me film you anyway. Let's see what we can do. Swing this golf club. You'll figure it out. And I swung the golf club. He just laughed. He just laughed and laughed. It was just so bad. But it was so bad. You don't do it. You just stink. It's just the way it's going to be. And then he goes, well, here's the video. Let's move this, and this. Do it again. And we swung again. He's like, that's better, but fix this, and this. Swing again. We went through 4 or 5 times. And he was explaining something to me that I think is meaningful in the small changes that make a difference in jiu-jitsu and anything you're doing with grappling and fighting. But he goes to me, hey, Jared, if that club head hits the middle of that ball perfectly, that's a great shot. Goes right down the fairway. Everything's perfect. If you go 2 millimeters to the left or 2 millimeters to the right, you're going to hook it or slice 100 yards off the course.
Right.
So those 2 millimeter changes, when I'm moving your stance this way, your swing this way, those 2 millimeter changes is all the difference in the world. And I think that spoke to me a lot because it's not just like that in golf. And I never had taken golf before. And by the time I was done, he's like, that's pretty good. Nice swing. But it's like that in all areas of life. It's like that in our professions, like that in fighting. It's everything, man. And so, like, walk with the Lord, whatever it might be. And you keep trying to hone in to something, get better and better and better, and recognize you can't know everything at once. It takes 2 millimeter changes over time. And that's where all the progress happens, over consistency. Life of consistency makes all the difference in the world. That's a really cool thing overall.
Right.
Yeah. Did you ever see that movie, The Last Samurai?
I think so. Who's
Tom Cruise is in it.
Tom Cruise? Yeah, I think so.
It's pretty old now. It's old, and you're a young guy, so I don't know if you'd seen it or not. But he talks.
Dude, if it's a samurai movie, I've probably seen it.
So if you didn't see it, but there's this one part of it. It's a cool movie overall, but there's this part where he's like an American soldier, and he's like alcoholic and everything.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, you got it?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So it's
because
cool.
he was like he was a military guy.
Yep.
Dude, yes. Awesome movie.
And he gets
awesome
with the samurai,
movie.
but they want to fight with the swords and stuff still. And they capture him, and he's now living with them. But the part I'm saying is, like, he just talked about how everything they did was towards perfection. If they when they take cup out water or archery, everything was a pursuit of perfection. I just think it's cool when we live our lives that way overall.
And that is actually like, so there's this show, Marco Polo.
Yeah, I've not seen that.
Oh, dude, it's awesome show, dude. Awesome show. But there's this blind monk in there. He's like the coldest martial artist in there. They call him 100 Eyes, even though he's blind. And he was asking Marco Polo. He said, when you go back to England or wherever the hell it is, he said, when they ask you what is kung fu, what will you tell them? Will you tell them that it is this way of fighting, or will you explain to them that kung fu is a way of life, a way of mastering? Yeah. And he explained that kung fu is like to master something. Like you can have kung fu and with the broom sweeping the ground, and so that's why
same principle exactly. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
and so that's why when they ask me, what my fighting style is, I tell them it's kung fu. So yeah,
for that reason.
Yeah,
mastery.
Exactly.
I love it.
But man, I'm ready to train now.
That's cool.
I was gonna take the week off. Shit, I might have to go back in tonight. Shit.
Yeah. Did you? You were just talking about things like pop culture. There's a book called Gates of Fire. I don't think you'd have ever read it. I don't remember the author right now, but it's more or less talking about like Leonidas in the 300. You know that movie too, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not a real historical picture, but it's like generally speaking accurate, and they fill in a lot of different like lingo and verbiage and everything like that. And so, not a bad book, but just talk about Leonidas is they're getting ready for the battlefield, and Leonidas is talking about this ticket system or I forgot what they called it, but he had these sticks, and their name was written on both sides of the stick. And the one side of the stick was their name, and the other side of the stick was their name. Break in half, they put on their bracelet and go into battle. The other half would be left behind. It was a way to count the dead. More or less, if you didn't come back, get your ticket, half your stick, you were dead, you were lost at battle, essentially. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
But he's got this like great, like, what was it called? Soliloquy, whatever you're going to call it, like this great rousing speech about, hey, we need to break ourselves in half and go into battle, the baser man, the one that knows no quarter, the one that will slaughter and kill, and we leave the other man, the other half of us, the husband, the father, behind as we go into battle. It was a really cool idea that there's like two parts of yourself, where one part would be left behind, the better part of yourself, the one who knows love and quarter and all that stuff, but you have to go into battle, just break it off and just become a warrior like you're talking about right now. So for you, that's every day of your life. And I think of that like kind of sometimes in my work, like I have to put aside all the cares of the world to be present time focused on my patients in front of me. It's not the same. I'm not going out to wreck people. I'm going out to help people. But the same idea, I can't put the cares of the world in my mind's eye right now. I got to stay and focus with this person right here and right now. And you're doing that all the time. And I just wanted to, I think you'd like that. I thought so.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something that took me years to realize. And when I realized that, that's when I realized, oh, that's why we have a fight name. It's not just, just to sound cool, like, because you're bringing that person to the cage, not who you are. Right. And I like how I look.
Tell me about this more. I want to hear more about this. I didn't know this was a thing. Like it's like an alter ego almost for someone.
Look, some of the other people, they might not get it, but I understand this. And when I realized that, I said, it helped me accept anything that's going to happen in that cage, because I don't want Willie Lee Henderson III to get his face cut open. I don't want Willie's his arm to get broke. I don't want him to get a busted lip. I don't want him to get bruised up. Willie's got kids. Willie's got a woman. He's got family. He doesn't need to get hurt. But the Rainmaker,
Right on.
the Rainmaker is a fucking samurai. And the Rainmaker
This
ain't
man's a
got no,
savage.
the Rainmaker don't have kids.
Right.
The Rainmaker don't have no women. The Rainmaker don't have nothing.
I love it.
He don't care about nothing.
Right on.
He's getting in that cage for martial arts. And so when I'm at the fight, when I'm at the show, this and that, I'm still Willie to a certain extent. But when I put on them, when I get my hands wrapped and I put them gloves on and I start to warm up, I'm now the Rainmaker.
Flip the switch.
Like I flip that switch.
Break that ticket, leave it behind.
I'm not Willie anymore.
Right on.
And as I'm walking out to that cage, dude, it's just, oh my God, dude.
Game over, huh?
Man, and it took me a while, but doing that, it helped me accept anything that's going to happen in that cage. And I stopped caring about getting punched, getting kicked, getting thrown. You know, I don't care about none of that stuff. Like,
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Same deal.
It's pretty awesome.
It's awesome, actually. I didn't know that. You know, I never had a name, obviously. I wasn't fighting that long. But I never recognized that you would almost look at that as like alter ego, and you actually use that to flip the switch. And this is the alter ego for Willie, and this is the fight guy, and that's pretty neat. I like it.
Yeah.
I like
because the thing is this also, because this is the thing. Willie is a goofball.
Right.
You know, Willie is like, dude, come on. Willie, it's like, yeah, Willie's a warrior, sure, but the Rainmaker,
He's a warrior.
The Rainmaker's the warrior. Dude. The Rainmaker doesn't make freaking baby sounds when he's talking to his woman and all this stuff.
Right.
You know, Willie does that. You know, Willie's,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Willie's
right.
goofy.
Right.
The Rainmaker, that's a different beast.
100%. I understand.
You know, so yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like two different personalities, man.
So I guess I didn't recognize this. So in my office, I'm different at home or right here with you than I am within my office. I'm like all attention to the patient care. I'm actually really intense at the office. I don't know if you noticed. I try to be kind of goofy to be fun and lighthearted.
You mean business.
But I'm like, and so my staff, I was on a trip with them recently for a conference, and like they were telling, I think my wife, your husband's actually pretty cool.
Everyone's
like,
walking around all like fucking just walking on eggshells around you.
Like
and
he's pretty cool. It's kind of fun to be around. We kind of like him. But at work, I'm just all about the patient care and what they need at that moment. It's kind of similar. I got a funny story for you. It's not real funny, but just a little funny. So when I was in the military camp, I had 3 amateur fights, but then I also did like this really weird, it was like a tag team submission fight. Tag team though. So there was like a ring with the 4 corners and you could tag the guy in, and it was me and another guy.
Sounds fun.
It was like, I was like 215 at the time and he's probably 195. And we had a guy that was a ex-lineman for years. I was like 330 and another guy like 315, and they're just monsters. And so it was kind of a joke that we were going to fight them, but they gave us nicknames. We're named Vicious and Delicious for that fight. And so I guess I was going to be vicious in that case, but it was pretty funny. And so I think it might have been, I don't remember who was like the person kind of having the fights put on, but it might have been Spencer Fisher that created that name. I don't know. So it was kind of funny though. Anyway, yeah. Vicious and Delicious.
That's cool,
so
man.
So maybe I can be vicious from now on. I go into the BJJ room and just like
no, don't bring vicious up in there.
Don't ego it, man.
Don't do that, man. Don't bring vicious up in there.
Be delicious in the training room.
Hey, so what is your mindset like when you're rolling?
You know, I set small goals and try to achieve small benchmarks consistently. That's kind of my mindset.
Do you ever go into like a state of just like kind of like a competition state of mind?
Yeah. So not exactly. So you know what? So sometimes, yeah, like kind of like wrestling. I was saying to somebody the other day, a friend of mine, he's like, dude, you don't even pay attention to when the bell stops and like the whistle's done. Yeah. People are saying your name. So the thing of it is, in wrestling, we're taught when the whistle blows, don't stop. You blow through the whistle, you move through the whistle, because there's whistles all around in the gym consistently. So if you get used to outside sounds stopping you, and not having you almost have to want the ref to pull you off or tap you to stop at that point. Yeah. So if someone hits my back, I'm going to stop right away in every case. My brain has almost been trained to keep going until I'm literally like being told to stop. So the other day I was training and I was trying to be real soft and my elbow was hurting a little bit, and I kept getting more and more hurt. And I was like, I can't come in trying to be soft and going slow and going through motions. I have to get back to competition because I'm getting actually more beat up.
Yeah, because the thing is this, if you're going, you can only go soft with someone else is going soft. If
right.
they're going hard, then you're going to get injured. I know they say like, if you're in a car crash or if you're in a tornado, like go completely limp.
Yeah,
well, that's not going to work in BJJ, buddy. That's not going to work, and you better not go limp. You have to stay strong to protect yourself.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So then I said to John, I came off like, man, I just got to go. I got to go back to going hard and being focused because I'm just being soft and I'm actually getting beat up more.
Yeah.
But that does mean that sometimes I'm not really, I'm kind of in competition mode in my mind. but it's not like I'm about to kill people. That's not what I'm thinking at all. I'm looking
Yeah.
to score points. I'm always
I'll
thinking
be trying to kill.
I'm always thinking points right now. Did you know that?
Points.
I always think
I don't
points.
think nothing about
I'm
no
always thinking
points. I don't
points.
care about no points. I'm going for the submission.
I want to do some tournaments eventually. So
Well,
I'm thinking,
yeah. So you got to understand the
I gotta
rules and
understand
the
the rule
points.
system, the points. So I'm thinking, where do the points get scored? And that's the most important thing I'm thinking about. Like, score this next point, score this next point. And then I'm like, John, I'm like thinking, you know, I said to him the other day, so this isn't a secret. My goal with John is to, in this first year of being in there, is to get him to a 0-0. I want to just bring it to no point score, just like total, like, you know, stalemate.
Yeah.
If I got that, I'd be happy. And then next year, my goal is to try to beat him by points.
Yeah.
And then the next year is just catch like a tricky submission on him. And the next year, hopefully, like dominate, get in position, and force a submission.
My goal with him
four-year
is
plan.
my goals when I roll with John is to pass his guard if I can, try to get to a dominant position and hold and try to submit him. But ultimately, I'm trying to submit him.
Every time.
Yeah, and I've gotten close a couple times. I mean, I submitted him once, but there's been other times where I got close and then he gets out of it, and then I'm submitted. Yeah. But yeah, dude, John's a freaking beast.
He's
dude.
like a killer.
It's
like,
ridiculous.
I rolled a lot of people. Geese are new to me too, like, you know, compared to the old days. But I've never ever rolled with somebody who can make me feel like I'm a 5-year-old going against an adult ever before. Never before in my life. And I've trained with a lot of people. It's a different style, I guess, without the gi. And he's just like a chess master when it comes to that gi and grips and everything. It's just kind of wild. So that's my mindset. I get back to that point.
Yeah.
Small goals and meeting small little benchmarks to improve my skills over time.
Yeah, so when I roll, I try not to let the rainmaker come out. I try not to get too serious, because sometimes I will. You know, I try not to get too serious. Like, sometimes I'll intentionally, like, not hurt you, but inflict pain.
Right.
Like cross facing somebody and just smashing into their face or their throat with my forearm. If someone's on top of me and they're smashing me really hard and they're not moving and they're just staying there, I'll take my elbows and I'll post right into like the ribs or the stomach and drive into it. You know, like, yes, I'll inflict some pain if I need to.
You've not been real painful to me, not real mean to me.
Yeah, I have. You just don't feel it.
No, you're not been real mean.
You're just a beast, bro.
No,
you're just a beast.
So here's when I first started.
He spits it out.
There's one time you had your shoulder in my jaw or my throat. I'm like, dude, that is mean. That was like, you had these bones and it's so sharp and prominent. Like, man, I gotta get out of that position. And so that's an example. That's
what I was talking about.
That's a little more mean. That's only been like one time ever. You've been nice to me. It's because I'm a newbie still. You're taking it easy out of me, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I typically do it when a person's like, if I get out strength, like if they're like, I do it to the bigger guys. I don't really do it to the smaller guys, but sometimes I'll do it to the new people to show them like this is the difference. Like this is the difference between like now like this is the difference between me like getting like grimy.
Yeah. And training versus like I'm ready for war. One's a training mode. One's
nice
like,
versus mean.
Yeah.
You know,
one's Rainmaker. One's Willie.
Right. Kind of.
Yeah. No doubt. I love it. Yeah.
But
it was funny though. So that one time I was like, man, I can't ever get my chin like that again. I got to keep out of that position. But there was something that happened. I don't remember where it was. I just didn't know what I was doing to get in that position probably to begin with. And I think that you were smart to like give me a little punishment to like not.
Well, also sometimes I'll do that. A lot of times I'll do that if my opponent's just, or if my teammate's just holding on.
I bet you that's what I was doing as an example.
Just holding and holding. I'm like, okay, well, realistically, you know, there's so much stuff I could do right here to make this uncomfortable to where you're going to move.
Right. Force
you
the
know,
move.
Right, exactly. I mean, and then like if it's MMA, like there's so many positions. That's why I like our Wednesday class now, because there's so many positions that you couldn't sit here in a real fight or like an MMA fight.
Yep.
You couldn't just sit here. And then plus, you know, I feel like, you know, you have your roles where it's more serious, especially like if you're like a couple weeks out from competition. But for the most part, it's like, dude, let's explore. Let's keep it moving. You know, secure a position, go for a submission, and then if we're just sitting there for 30 seconds, no one's moving, let's move. You know, I'll even give up a worse position just to create some movement. You know, that's why they call it rolling, because, you know, it's rolling. It's not laying. It's not sitting. Like, so I try to keep the flow going, keep movement, because it's. And then you only got 5 minutes. Like, I don't want to just be sitting in one spot for
minutes.
you know, however many minutes that, you know, it kind of gets boring.
You know, I'm going to say to you that you might remember this, like maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, you said, hey, I'm always attacking, especially in the room. You know, I don't know if you do it all the time. You're like, when we're in the room, I'm going to attack, I'm going to attack, I'm going to attack. And that kind of spoke to me because sometimes I would be, again, not trying to stall out, but just looking for a better position and waiting too long.
Yeah.
And since that point, I've started attacking more and I've started landing more stuff too, because I'm actually going after and I'm getting myself in bad positions sometimes, but that even forces me to try to get back to a decent position when I get in a bad position. And so since that point, it's really helped me out a lot, actually, just to attack more often and get the pace going a little bit more that way too. So thank you.
Yeah. And that's how I was taught originally. And then also I watched this video one time. This guy was explaining what's the difference between a white belt and a blue belt. What's the difference between explain what are some of the things that it takes to get, like what are the difference in the mindsets.
Yep.
And he said the difference between a white belt and a blue belt, a white belt is typically they're purely defensive. Mm-hmm. Like against the other upper belts, you're just defending.
Right.
But when you're a blue belt, you should be attacking. You should not just be defending. Because if you have that blue belt, that's showing you know enough to where you should be attacking. Yep. And yeah, dude, there's so many, there's almost a submission in any position.
Yeah.
You know, even the bad ones. So, you know, I'm just always attacking.
I like to, I know it's probably shouldn't learn this, but I like to look at things to learn techniques through different schools that you can buy stuff from online or YouTube videos. But some of my favorite things are when I can get a submission that looks like you want to get a submission out of that position. I know that's not a big deal. Like, you know, baseball bat chokes really well. You know what that is. But I love the idea that the guy thinks he's passing your guard and you're just trying to set him up to choke him. That makes me really happy.
I mean, if you told me to show you a baseball bat choke right now, I wouldn't know what you're talking about.
You don't? Okay.
Dude,
I'll try to hit it on you next time.
The gi techniques, I don't look. I'm sorry, but they go in one ear and out the other.
Right out.
Because I don't do a lot of gi, so it's like it's hard for them to stick.
Right. Okay. So
and I hate to be this way, but as far as my MMA career, it's like I have to.
Yep.
I don't want any unnecessary techniques in my head just because I'm not.
It's that focus thing again.
And when I'm grappling, I can't, I don't want it to be muscle.
Yeah, muscle memory.
To be muscle memory, because then in a fight, I'm trying to go for these things, or, you know, as dumb as it sounds, if there's not a gi, you would think I would never go for a gi choke, but it's just, it'll cause a delay.
I understand.
You know, instead of my mind going from this no gi to that no gi position to that, it'll be bouncing back and forth, and it just causes a delay. So
it creates a wrong neural pathway.
Right, exactly.
It's not what you're trying to train ultimately. So I guess the way to say it is, I love trying to hit a submission that people aren't going to think you'd be able to hit. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. It does make me really happy. It surprises people.
Like that buggy choke. The buggy choke is one where when someone's in top side control, they're in a dominant position, and then you can throw up that buggy choke, and it's just a goofy one. But
but you know what though? After you did that to me one time, I think that was like 3 months ago. It was not too long after I looked it up and learned about it.
Yeah,
and it's one of those. That's kind of I'm talking about. It just comes out of nowhere. You don't think they're going to hit it, and suddenly you're in a bad position. It was the first time. I think I held John in that for like 3.5 minutes. I was like, I might go 0-0 here because I was holding him in there, and he eventually got out of it though. Because he knew what I was doing. He was never going to hit on him. But yeah. Anyway, so I love that stuff. So show me more of that when you can. Just the stuff that comes out of nowhere. It looks impossible. I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, what mindset do you think I should have, by the way? You asked me, what is your mindset? What do you think my mindset should be right now? What do you think? With the caveat in mind that I'm ready to be here a bunch of years. I'm looking to progress over time. I'm not in a hurry. So when I'm rolling, what do you think should be my mindset right at that point?
I mean,
looking back, like what would you do different back at white belt?
Okay, I'll tell you this. Yeah. Okay, I'll say this. In terms of growth and development, honestly, I believe what will help you the most is to try what we just learned in class. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, once they start rolling, they're just they might have already had some things planned they wanted to work on that day, etc., or they're just flowing. But honestly, if you try the things that we just learned in that class, they're going to stick more. Okay. So, I mean, in terms of growth and development, I would say that for sure. Yep. Like, try what we just learned in class. Or even saying, hey, instead of just rolling, just sparring, positional. So if we work some guard passing, like, hey, Willie, can I start in your guard? I want to try these passes. Right. And you might spend 5 minutes trying to pass and not even get it, but just trying it and remembering this, like trying to go through those steps, mm-hmm. like that'll definitely help with your growth a lot.
Would you say that, I know that sometimes we talk about, mastering all skills is difficult. Would you say that try them all, see if you like them, and then just very specifically trying to master just a very few set of moves so you get really good at those ones? Or would you try to say, get it bigger, learn a little bit of all of them for now, and then as you get higher belts, try to master certain areas? What would you say?
I would say it's good to always be, working on a lot of different things so you're well-rounded, but spending like a few weeks or a month on like one or two specific positions or submissions is gonna help out a lot. Like even like this month, I'm gonna try to work a lot out of top side control, and then you'll get so much better at knowing all these different ways how to get there.
Right.
And then what you're gonna do once you get there. So yeah, that's like a lot, and that's why like we'll have technique of the week, or like for a certain like for the month, John will show a whole bunch of things from one position, because the more you bounce around, the less can stick.
Right.
Yep. So it's like if I want to take you to a destination and in a month I show you 32 different ways to get there, you're not gonna really truly understand each one of those routes the way you would if you took that same way every day. You're going to know every sign on the side of the road. You're going to know every building. So, trying to focus on a certain thing for like that few weeks or a month while you're doing other things as well, that'll definitely help out a lot.
Yeah, that sounds good. Right.
Like something I've been working on for a while now is the Kimura.
Yep.
And different ways to finish once I get it. I got the Kimura and he's just biting down and it's hard for me to get that arm up. What are some different things I can do to get this arm up, and what other submissions can I switch from how to switch to the arm bar from here?
Right.
And so I've been working on the Kimura a lot, and I just won my fight with that. So,
So it's stuck.
Yeah.
Neural pathway was built. Yeah, right on. I like that.
Yeah,
good,
for sure.
Good call. Yeah.
So, I'm trying to think of anything else I want, but the main two things I wanted to talk about was you being your profession and then wrestling as well. You got any other cool wrestling stories? Something crazy?
Not really. I mean, crazy. I wouldn't say I think that it's relevant to say that your people are going to be top level people that are probably listening to this anyway. But I have a son now that wrestles, and I don't want to blow that up too much, because he's like, I'm not trying to be mean. He might listen to this one day in 10 years from today. This boy is the worst wrestler I have ever seen. I don't mean because he's 6, because he's a little dude. So to be fair, there's other 6-year-olds that wrestle, but he doesn't have any real tenacity. He doesn't really try to go get it. But I look back.
Guard puller.
Man, he just goes back. He goes back his pin. Yeah, it's just like he's got magnets in his shoulder blades almost. And just talking to this wrestling store, like, it's been weird because I've been coaching wrestling for like 15 years now. And over time, I've seen parents be like, their dads are good at a sport, really good at a sport. And so you'd expect your son or daughters to be good at that thing too. You teach them about that. And I've seen tons of fathers yelling at their kids and just being rough on their kids. And it never
being assholes.
Just never turn out well. The kids almost always don't like the sport. So I've had my boy wrestling since he's 4. And he's 6. And he's still like, I'm like, how can you literally be so bad? It perplexes me. And like sometimes he's learned techniques. He's actually getting better technique. He learns things, but he just does everything so slow, and it integrates slowly for him. And he's not putting any.
Is he on the Jackson team?
Yeah, he's out there with me. The little
okay. I guess I never.
Spark. I'll introduce you to him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll introduce you to him. And so, but I'm recognizing that because I was terrible for a whole year, but then I got serious. And what it comes down to for our kids, I think a lot of times, is they have to want it for themselves, and you have to make it fun.
Right.
And so seeing him. And after every practice, he's like, I had so much fun, Dad. I'm having so much fun at wrestling with you.
That's what matters.
The wrestling story I was trying to tell you is, even if my son is just not going to do well for the next 10 years, if I can keep him engaged in that and we have this thing together and having fun with that, it's such a cool thing. So wrestling story has been a bonding thing for my son. And I've got to have these great relationships with like a bunch of coaches from Jackson. And I have like mentors there now. And I've been able to like pour into some of these kids' lives that I've been able to coach over time. It's really cool when you have a sport you're into right now, and then you're going to be able to give it to somebody else as well. So it's not just one of the things that you can make yourself great at it right now, but you will literally be able to pour yourself into somebody else down the road and change their in their life and their direction of life, which is such a cool thing. So being involved in a culture like wrestling or jiu-jitsu or MMA, it's more than just, if right now it's for you, just you right now, you're still like, got to focus on the rainmaker to some degree, and you got to get this thing going. but it'll be so valuable for you down the road when you start coaching more people. And you are coaching now, I know that too.
Yeah.
But as you just progress, it's just gonna be such a cool thing. And so a real cool wrestling story for me is just being able to be part of the community, like in the Jackson community that loves wrestling so much and can be part of that. Because where I'm from, it's not such a big sport. So it's cool to be involved in a community that just like loves the sport and has fun with the sport too. So yeah.
Right.
So a quick story, and then another quick story. I was wrestling to like this big match, and I watched a video one night on TV. It was a college wrestling match, and I won the biggest match of my life, just making something up that I saw the night before, and I just went for it, and I caught it, and I beat like this top wrestler in our area, and it made the biggest difference for me in that. I was a junior, and it propelled me to wrestle at a higher level there too. And it's so funny to think that something you didn't really know how to do, was willing to take a chance at it. Like you're saying, just go. It can be one of these things that actually changes the outcome, and it makes it look lucky, but you're prepared in advance because you were studying and learning in advance, and it makes a big difference for the future. So
Right.
it's neat. So
Yeah.
little minor story.
It feels so great when you actually just commit and try something.
Try something new.
You know, and then when you land, it's like, man, like, dude, on Sat, you haven't seen my fight yet, have you?
Not the new one, no.
You haven't seen it?
Nope.
Hey, go on Facebook and let's just pull up the highlight of the finish. You're gonna like this.
All
Yeah,
right, let's see
it was sweet.
Yeah.
And guess what? This is something I've been working on for months.
And you hit it.
Probably maybe even you. I've been working on this a lot. I've been working on this a lot, and yeah, I pulled it off. It's
We probably need to hope your opponents don't watch this then, since they know you're looking for
they
it.
can watch it. I'll do it to them too. It's
you
that
turn
one right there. Yeah,
Right at.
yeah. Pull it up. Go full screen with it. Yeah, turn the volume down.
Yeah, he's like the internet guy in the back. I didn't know we could
So
call him up.
go all the way back. Yeah, scroll. There we go. Yeah, throw it up on there. They can watch it too. Boom, nice leg kick.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, Osoto Gari right into. So I was about to go for the arm bar, but then I decided I'm like, why go for that when I could just get the Kimura and stay on top? So I'm going for it, and you see he's doing a good job of keeping his arm nice and tight. So I'm like, okay, I try again. I'm yanking. I'm like, okay, you want to keep on holding on? So I secure with my left hand, and then I started to soften him up some.
Yeah.
And then once I softened him up, then I got it there. And I heard someone say, he's tapping. And I was just thinking, keep cranking until the ref stops you.
That's right.
And yeah, so that was the finish in round 3.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It was nice.
You did a good job keeping that position too, where he kept his head trapped and everything.
Yeah.
And softened him up a little bit.
It's a good one. Just straight tea bag.
I like it.
That's like the crappiest position to be in.
But you know what though? You did a great job there. And then you said you've been working that for literally months. And so to nail that, you just kind of put that vision into place and kept living it out, made it work. Yeah, right on.
And the thing about that trip is, you got to do it just right, and it takes dedication, because when you really look at it, I mean, you want to get their posture off.
Yep.
But so it's one thing to get that trip when you're tied up already and you kind of get off balance them, but to hop into that trip, you got to think about that position right there. We're almost 50-50. Right. So if I mess up, he could pull me backwards and trip me. Yep. So, it takes a lot of commitment just to try that trip. And, yeah, that's one of my favorite trips.
That's cool. So that'd be your highlight reel for a while then, huh?
Yeah.
Keep it rolling.
For sure.
When we look at that, made me just think of this. Like, you've had how many fights now?
That was MMA and kickboxing total. That was my 25th fight.
25th fight. Do you feel like you're getting more comfortable? Just like, I'm not saying you were always probably comfortable to some degree.
No.
You look so comfortable there just to try something, and you almost know you're going to get it, and then to change position, soften them up, and go back to it, and then once you got it, you just run off, hit the backflip. Like you just like it was all like programmed.
I like that you brought that up, because the thing is this: there's so many fighters that never get comfortable in the cage. Like they always have that either it's a lot or even just a little bit of like nervous energy and like not fully trusting in their abilities in themselves and not getting comfortable. But man, I mean, you want to talk about comfortability, like it'll probably take him a while to pull up the whole thing. But if he pulled up the whole thing and showed you like just even me walking out, I'm walking out, dancing to my music or whatever. I have to walk down the stairs and they have a rail. I did a little twist on the stairs and then I leaned up against the rail like this and like popped open my little shirt or whatever. And dude, like, when you want to talk about comfortability, 100%. Like I'm more comfortable getting in that cage than I am like rolling some nights at class. Like,
That's
the
solid.
comfortability is finally there.
Right
And
on.
it took a lot of fights for me to get to that point.
Multiple years.
Like, you know, my first, let's say, 5 to 10 fights, you know, when you have a dream, it's like you're not fully coherent and things are happening. You're trying to figure out why is it happening? Why am I doing this? And it just kind of feels like you're in just like this little spiraling tornado.
Yep.
And then even afterwards, it's hard to remember what happened. Like that's how most of my fights were in the beginning. Like everything's happening so fast,
Right.
and but now, yeah, everything is like it's slowed down. I see everything coming, and you know that was what I always wanted as a fighter. You know, I always like even when I was a kid, like fights always terrified me, but I always just wanted to have that like being comfortable in a fight.
Yep.
Like if somebody attacked me on the street right now, I'm not gonna, you know, freak out or like I'm gonna just be like, okay, okay, I see he's got his right foot in the front. Okay, his left hand's low. I'm about to feint, see if he moves. If he doesn't move, I'm sending the head kick right there. So yeah, definitely calm and super calculated.
They're you know, you talk about wrestling. So I wrestled for long enough. I had lots of matches over time, and I'm talking about every tournament I'd go to, and your mindset, you're a grown man. I was still a boy at that point. But every single, no matter how good the guy was, no matter how bad he was, I was always so nervous. I was like, I would have diarrhea every match. And if I was at a tournament, you have 4 or 5 matches, I'd have 4 or 5 bouts of diarrhea. It'd be brutal. I remember one, this is more funny. My dad said, hey, we're in this big, it was in Ohio, a big national tournament. And I had got second the year before. I want to repeat that. But I would get so sick. He's like, here, take this Imodium. Like,
If this was a shitting contest, I would be the champion.
So
But no, that happens to me too. Before, like the day of the fight, when I get to the venue, I usually make a bowel movement like 5 times before the fight.
Yeah.
And it used to like freak me out and be like a nervous type of, but now it's just like
part of it.
Now I just like it's not like a nervous using the bathroom. It's just like I just know my body it wants to flush everything. So because you know the more you have in your stomach, the harder it's gonna be to move around.
Right.
You know,
it's like an evacuation process.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So he gives me this Imodium to make me have anti-diarrhea. Guess what happens?
You threw up
because it had to come out some way, so
Oh
my body didn't expel it almost, and so I'm vomiting.
That's terrible.
It was a terrible tournament. It ended up going badly, but just the point of that is like, you know, it's just funny. We have these like rituals that your body has to get used to, and it just to me, it's like one of those things that you get more comfortable with things. When you strengthen your mind, you get more and more comfortable. And you have to sometimes do it just through mindset training. Other times just by doing it over and over again, being comfortable with it. Like you do this all the time. Like for public speaking for people, this is a big deal. It makes them really, you know, they're scared of that situation.
The first podcast I did, I was so nervous.
Yeah, it just becomes natural at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, right on. So.
And that's another thing you know, as a young man growing up, I realized that being nervous is a part of life. And I don't know, I just found out in life, for me, I'm just a beast. And if I just know that I'm a performer and I just tell myself I don't care if I get nervous. I'm going to do my best. Like, dude, I went to court one time and I'm on the stand talking to the judge, and dude, my voice has never been so shaky. Like I'm literally standing there talking to him like this. Like, dude, voice so shaky, but I'm not gonna freeze up and say nothing. I'm gonna say what I need to say and do what I need to do. And I just found that I always rise to the occasion. And if I put myself in that position, I'm gonna do my best. I have to.
Right.
Why? Because I'm not about to get embarrassed up here. I'm not about I'm just gonna do my best, and I just force myself to believe in myself.
Yeah.
And
mindset
it
stuff.
works.
Absolutely.
Like they say, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yep.
And we made it.
Yep.
We made it. But like this was that fight Saturday was my first time being the main event, and you know it was deserved, it was earned, and I probably was the calmest fighter in the building, you know. It's just I've gotten very comfortable fighting, and it's not just from all the times I've done it. I get my confidence from my training.
Yep.
That's where I get it from. You know, like if I showed up out of shape, you bet your ass I'm gonna be nervous. I'm gonna be super nervous. But showing up in shape,
100%.
knowing I've been training my ass off for 7 years now, like it's like, why would I be nervous?
Right.
How can I be?
Right.
I want my opponent to be nervous. I'll let him take all the nerves. Let him be nervous.
Yep.
I'm going to be confident. I'm going to do my thing.
Yep.
You know, so it's funny you talked about, you know, making a lot of bowel movements, right, you know, before your matches. So when I fought for that Attitude MMA belt in Memphis last October, there was a water line break at that building. So they had no running water, so we couldn't use the bathrooms. They had one porta potty outside.
Nice.
And it was raining the whole time.
Yep.
So I'm walking outside in the dark, look, once it got dark, you can't see shit. There had no lights out. I couldn't see shit. I'm using the bathroom in the dark, in the porta potty. It's raining everywhere. And I was just like, hey, oh, well.
Well, going back to what you said earlier, what you've learned in life is you're a beast, so you got it.
Right. Got it.
Got it, no problem. So it didn't distract you really either, that was the point.
No.
You prepared so much to that point. This is just, you know, it's easy. Blocking and tackling, basics for you.
Because I used to I used to feel like I have like OCD, right? You know, I'm a very particular person with everything around me, and I actually had to train myself to not be that way,
right?
Because
go back a little bit,
because it would be to a point to where if there's dirty dishes, if there's things out of place, it would stress me the fuck out.
Yeah.
I would be so stressed out. Right. So I had to train myself to not so much be that way. And with fighting, I had to train myself to feel ready no matter what happens. If I don't have a big enough place to warm up, if the guy that wrapped like for example, when I fought for that belt, the guy who wrapped my hands, he wrapped it too tight, and by the time I was like warming up, my thumb was completely numb.
Right.
And I had to have him cut a whole bunch of stuff off, but I had to tell him I can't let this freak me out to the point to where I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I have to tell myself it's fine. Yeah. If I need to, I'll just fight with the other hand. Like just being like adapting. Yep. You have to be able to adapt, you know, for 100%. Everything in life. So the
more you can adapt in life, the better you can be successful. You just said point, but your previous training, your experiences let you be confident that even with it one-handed, you could do good enough to be able to succeed and be adaptable to that fight.
Right.
And it's really just the prep time. People don't recognize they're nervous in most cases because there's no prep time into it. Whether it's for a test for a kid, whether it's for a fight for an adult, whether it's for work for a new job, new interview, whether public speaking, they're probably stressed out because they didn't prepare well. And if you prepare well enough, things are natural at that point. It becomes fun.
Like if I'm about to warm up and they're like, Willie, they're calling me out. They're like it's time for me to go. I don't get to warm up. I'm already warmed up, baby. I showed up warm.
Yeah.
I was ready to go when I got here. Yeah. I've been ready to go for a week ago.
Right.
Like I'm ready, you know. And it's just something about my mind and my body. My mind gets my body ready. Yep. I don't really like right now. If I still try to throw a high kick, like I could do it, but it's gonna feel tight. My hips gonna be like you should have warmed up. But if I have to fight, I'm just warmed up and ready to go. You know,
your body's ready. The hormones.
Like for this fight, I only warmed up for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. The adrenaline's going. Things are going at that point. It just changes everything. Blood flow changes to your musculature. Absolutely. Your mind just becomes ready. Your body is ready. Yeah,
but not for some people.
Yeah.
Some people, like, if they don't get 30 minutes to warm up, they're going to be tripping.
Your body's kind of trained for it, though, to some degree, too. Like, your body, with the physical conditioning you put yourself into, you're more likely to get there than I ever could at that point because you're so consistent training. It's a little different, but I'll tell my little kid wrestlers, they're always complaining about, like, the ref made a bad call, or that wasn't a takedown. Like, dude, it might not have been. First of all, this is like Optimus or like Little League Wrestling, so who cares? No big deal. Just let it move on. Like, learn from the match and go from there. But also, don't let the ref be the judge. Be so much better and dominant that it doesn't matter that he had 7 bad calls. Just come out and win. But that's what you're doing. Like, you're mentally preparing to be so dominant that it doesn't matter if you're missing a hand and not warming up because you were prepared to be dominant before you got to that point.
Right.
When you come prepared like a beast, you can have all kinds of setbacks. You can be sick that day. You can be dehydrated that day. You can have to cut weight. But everything goes better because you were prepared way above what you needed to be. And
there's always going to be variables that you did not foresee, that you cannot control. So you have to be ready for that.
Yep.
And just like in the fight, I'm not going to make a mistake.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to fight perfect.
Right.
No, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to have to adjust. Like round 1, I threw a fucking kick and slipped and fell, and then he pounced on me and grabbed my back. Okay, that's fine, baby, because guess what? I wanted that to happen.
Right.
You want to grab a hold of me? You're fucked. Like, that's my mindset. I'm like, oh, oh, you think you're about to grab me and do something? Okay, back against the cage, get my underhook, turn, clinch, knee, push off on you. Like,
imagine too, like now that you maybe you didn't mean to do that. Let's just go with that. But imagine how demoralizing that is. I had his back and I couldn't finish him.
Couldn't do nothing with it.
What's going to happen now? I was in the most down position I can be, and I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
This guy's got my number.
Yeah.
He slipped and fell. I got a great advantage position, and I couldn't finish that. So it's just like demoralizing the guy you're fighting when that stuff happens.
And he didn't know before, but I went and talked to my opponent afterwards, and I told him that, you know, my left hand, I told him, I was like, and it kind of was like, it's kind of like talking shit with, like, respectfully, but not really. I was like, I wish I could have gave you a better stand-up fight, but my left hand is injured, my right foot's injured coming to this fight. But I mean, imagine, like, dude, if only he knew how injured my hand was and my foot. Yeah. Like, I didn't just win the fight. I won with a hurt hand and a hurt foot.
Dude, if you want to be a champion, you have to do that,
and still, my confidence never waned. Like,
100%.
You know, that's part of it, though.
That's the mindset of a champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real.
I love you said, I think I wrote it down where I said, what I've learned in life is that I'm a beast. That's a great, you should actually the highlight of this
write
whole
that
thing.
shit down.
The headline. What I've learned in life is I'm a beast.
For real.
Yeah.
I mean,
this applies to what we're talking about right now, though. You have that mentality that no matter what the situation, I'm in a beast mode. I'm going to get this thing done. So it's
and the thing
great
is,
mindset.
It's like, I don't believe that you're born a beast. It's a decision. You know what I'm saying? Everything in your life is a decision.
Yeah.
You know, you can choose to be a beast or you can choose to be a bitch.
And by pouring into that over time, you get that better and better mindset. It's not exactly relevant, but I want to bring it up to you. Like, there's a book by Malcolm Gladwell named Blink, and it's this weird conversation, but it's like this: experts can look at a thing in a moment and understand. And so, some of my practice and working with patients, things that to me, like, talking about after study, say learn. I can just, like, in an instant understand what to do with the person in front of me. Like, I can feel a thing, touch a thing. I've become so much more of a master at what I'm doing as an example in my craft. But he's talking about there's this artwork, and all these people are, like, observing this. They're like, wow, it's so beautiful. And this is like this masterpiece. Like, it's beautiful. It's amazing. We can't believe we have it here at this art museum. A guy comes in who's an expert at looking at counterfeits. He goes, that's a fake.
Trash.
It's in an instant. He goes, that's a fake. In an instant. They're like, how do you know? But when you have so many experiences, it feels like it's happening in a blink of an eye. You taking that position and then finishing that Kimura seems like it happens in a blink of an eye because you've trained it so many times. It's just going to be there for you when you need it to be there because it just all neuroprogrammed. Everything's going just exactly where it needs to go. Right. So that was a cool book that gave me this concept that, like, I need to be able to train so much they can make decisions in that moment when it's important. And for you, like, you get in a street fight, again, you don't have to think his left foot is there and his right hand's here. It just automatically is happening for you because you've trained so much, and it's pretty cool to have that happen. But then there's another book by the same guy named, it's called Outliers. It's that principle of 10,000 hours that you can't become a master unless you have 10,000 hours. And so you can be, like, I'm talking about my son. He's, like, not a good wrestler right now, but if we put those hours in, he's enjoying it and liking it, he'll become great one day. It's just automated. It's just going to happen. But the idea is if you put intense practice on something for enough hours, you'll become a master. There's not usually somebody who's only been 1,000 hours in a mastery thing. It's almost always about 10,000 hours. And so cool book for that concept. But you put those hours in, man. Right. And that's what lets you go into a fight. Bad foot, bad hand, diarrhea, whatever it might be. The rep makes a bad call. You slip and fall. Like, it's all going to be okay because you know in an instant what to do because you put those hours in.
Like, when I was warming up backstage, my foot was hurting.
Yeah.
Like, I can't move the way I want to without pain. And I'm just, hey, man.
Right on.
It's cool. Like, you know, but yeah, one of my favorite Bruce Lee quotes is in that movie, his master, his sensei, is asking him about something. I can't remember exactly, but he was asking him about when he hits, and he was like, "I don't hit; it hits all by itself." And his hand just raises, and his hand raises in a way where like he's not raising his hand is raising itself.
Right.
You know, and that's how I look at my fighting. You know, I don't have to, and you know, sometimes it kind of does. It screws me in a sense of, I don't force myself upon my opponent. I let things come naturally. I really flow.
Flow like water.
You know, I flow. I don't force these things. Like, I want things to be smooth. Mm-hmm. And like the announcer after the fight, he was like, "Man, that." He's like, "That." He said, "Now that the end right there, that seemed choreographed." Like, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to. It's supposed to look like we planned that shit together.
Yeah, you like I saw it in my mind like 1,000 times first, so it was choreographed.
Right.
Yeah, right on.
And I wanted to do that to him the first round, but I wanted to have a good striking match,
Right.
you know, give the people something to see.
Right.
And then round 3, I was like, but after round 2, I was like, you know what? I probably have won the fight, or if I win the third round, I got to fight, because at the end of round, no matter what happened in round 1, round 2, the way I finished that, I was on top and I was pounding the shit out of him. So I'm like, if I win this round, I got in the bag, but I'm about to take him down and finish him.
Yep.
And that's when I decided, to do that trip.
You don't leave it to the judges. Take care of it.
No, don't
like
do that.
I like
And I always wanted to be a finisher. You know what I'm saying? Like when you watch a kung fu movie, when you watch a fight, when someone gets knocked down, when someone gets finished, that's the peak. That's where oh shit.
Yep.
So I always wanted to be a finisher. Like that's what I trained to do. I don't like going 3 rounds and not finishing.
Yep.
If I can finish you the last second, that's what I want to do.
I don't know enough about your profession, honestly, but I know about my profession. And to say, I got my stuff down, how we run our practice and help other people run their practices, and I coach other chiropractors, things like that and that stuff. But I'm looking at what you do with, the face paint and the persona and the idea of finishing. And, it's going to be important to keep those things in your mind to get the next big fight, the next big promotion, and get the bigger payday.
Right.
It seems like if you finish more often, you're going to create more. And you kind of said, I don't want to finish the fight first round real quick. I want to have a show.
Yes.
So people are like, I want to see him fight again. You go out there and finish it in 10 seconds. That could be a highlight reel for sure. And it's pretty cool. But man, people are paying some money to see those fights.
They
want to see something. And so you have that in your mind. And you're actually fighting not just to win, but to create a show.
Yes.
And what you're doing is creating a show so that this persona that you have is actually more valuable. So that's really wise of you. It seems very wise of you based on my knowledge of what you're doing right now.
Right.
Yeah. So
I'm
business sense.
Yeah, I'm a businessman.
Yeah, right on.
And I'll try to be
Like that.
So there's a lot more that goes into it than just getting in there and fighting.
Right.
It takes a lot of thought. I do this for fun because I love it, but man, I want to make a lot of money doing this. I want to set up my financial future from this. So I got to play my cards right and do what I need to do. And it's going so far so good.
Yes, very cool. Love it.
All right, what time is it? I know you're busy, man. I don't want to keep you too long. So. Cool. All right, we'll call it. All right. So shout out to the sponsors, Victory Spinal Care and Cape Girardeau. Hey, if you want to get adjusted and you want to, increase your health and your overall living, give them a shout out. I think what consultations like.
We have a special that if somebody mentions you, Willie,
tell them the Rainmaker. Tell them the Rainmaker sent you. They'll hook you up. $27, man.
It's a couple $100, but it's a big discount for that.
Yeah,
no doubt.
mean, dude, $27 and you get X-rays, and he's gonna go over them with you and show you, what type of adjustments you'll need, and you'll have some dude, your spine will be all out of whack, and you're like, shit, I just been walking around like this. So go ahead and give them a shout out. Head on over there. Carpe Momentum Jiu-Jitsu. If you want to come in and learn how to fight, I mean, you know where to come. Range Technology, my friend Preston, he builds websites, and he built my website, www.powerfulfitness.shop. And you can go on there and buy, the Rainmaker tee and my workout outfit on there. And, of course, shout out to Powerful Fitness and the Powerful Fitness Podcast. This was episode number 21. Subscribe. Go follow me on Instagram.